It is becoming a border rivalry. West Virginia, it's Ohio State. If you can't get up for that, then you hate basketball.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. Welcome back into Locked On West Virginia, baby. Well, we're talking about the Mountaineers on the basketball side of things today. And man, are we excited to be doing so as the Mountaineers head to Cleveland into an NBA arena to face the Ohio State Buckeyes in a game that, you know, we play every so often now. It's kind of become a fun rivalry between the two basketballs. Well, they're not basketball schools, but the two schools on the basketball side of things. And it's been interesting, obviously, with that little bit of, I don't know if you want to call it a rivalry or not, but I like to think it is because we don't rival them in football right now, that's for sure. So thank you guys so much for being here. This episode is going to be brought to you by our good friends, and we love talking about our friends here at FanDuel, guys. Right now with FanDuel, if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com, place your NFL live bets all season long. Appreciate you. All right, guys, thanks for making us your first listen, like we say. But we do have a special guest and somebody I'm excited to talk with, talk a little ball. His name is Tim Miller, and he has a podcast called Views from the Shot. What's up, man? You got social media as well. What is it again?
Yeah, so you can find Views from the Shot podcast on Twitter and Instagram at The Shot Pod. You can find us on YouTube as well. I'm having a bit of a spat with my video editing software right now, so we haven't been on YouTube in the past couple of days, but we'll be back. That's Views from the Shot podcast as well. Covering Ohio State basketball all year long with at least one show every week and previewing and recapping every single game as well. The only Ohio State basketball show out there doing that. So appreciate you having me here today and excited to talk some hoops.
Absolutely, man. So obviously this is a Big 10 versus Big 12 matchup. Maybe, you know, it's debatable whether those are the two best conferences in college basketball right now. It's at Rocket Mortgage FieldHouse in Cleveland, where the Cavs play. It's going to be on ESPNU. It is a doubleheader. Ohio St. Bonaventure will also be there, which is an interesting one. This is a series that's pretty close. Ohio State leads the all-time series 10-8. We played in 2023, which was a 78-75 overtime win for Ohio State, and I remember that game very well. And you guys are riding a strong non-conference record at 6-1 right now. Guys are really offensively just crushing it right now. You guys averaging almost 90 points a game. West Virginia is in year one rebuild under Ross Hodge. We played 11 games, and we are one of the best defenses in the country by almost every metric you can find. So it's a clashing of styles, I would say. But overall, Tim, kind of paint me a picture of what this season's been like so far for the Buckeyes.
It really depends on who you ask. I think for me personally, I try to stay pretty measured and not super reactive to game. No team is going to win 30 games in the regular season more often than not. So
right.
Ohio State's,
you're allowed to get better too.
Yeah. You're allowed to get better. You're destined to lose some games early on. It's just how it goes. So I think the fan base is just as crazy as a football fan base. This one is just a little bit more niche, where you have less voices and they all feel a lot louder. So there's people who are super negative on Ohio State basketball. They don't think Jake Diebler is the guy to lead the program. They don't think this team is an NCAA tournament team. And then there's other people who would say, I'm willing to see how this goes. I would be in that category where so far you look at the roster construction this year compared to last year, you can definitely see how this team can be better than it was last year and make an NCAA tournament for the first time in 4 years. But the standard at Ohio State is really, really high for basketball, even though football is obviously king in Columbus. Mm-hmm. At the same time, the standard for this team can't be the standard that the program was held to in 2010. It's just impossible. So that clashing of preference, the clashing of standard for a team versus program, I think can really drive fans up a wall. Overall, it's been an okay year for Ohio State. In short, I think they've had some nice wins. They obviously had a tough loss to Pitt, just lost to Illinois, but this team looks like it can be competitive at worst in the Big Ten this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, Obviously when you have a guy as high profile as Diebler, former player, who seems like yesterday he was just playing. I mean, it's unbelievable that he is in the coaching realm now. It's hard to believe for me. It just seems like yesterday he was torching people from three. And here he is as the coach. So kind of give our fans a preview of the style that he coaches with. Up tempo, wants to run, wants to use those horses he has. We'll get into some of the specific players here in a minute, but just talk about the style and what does he like to accomplish game to game if he could have it his way.
Yeah, so common confusion that I struggled with as well when Jake Diebler first got the job at Ohio State. So his brother John is the one who was insane at Ohio State three-point shooting. He's an assistant coach at Butler right now. And Jake tried to hire John, two Diebler names.
You're right. It is John Diebler.
It's incredibly confusing, but Jake tried to hire John and it was stopped for whatever reason. All that said, Jake's style of play is he wants to get this team to run up and down the floor. Last year, the depth wasn't there. There were injuries at time. And because of Ohio State being super thin, they couldn't run up and down the way they wanted to. This year, Jake Diebler and the staff went back in the transfer portal and they tried to build a team that could run up and down the floor. And that's what they're doing a little bit better this year. But I think more so than that, it's the half-court offense. They would try to dribble the ball or dribble the air out of the ball last year offensively, and everyone was sticking. It wasn't cohesive. This year, things look a lot better. The offense looks really, really good. The 2-point shooting is among the best in the nation, and the assist rate is something that they really emphasize as well, as sharing the basketball, moving the ball. So offense has looked good. It's not quite as fast as maybe I think Jake Diebler painted it would be since he's become head coach at Ohio State, but the offense looks better. They want to run up and down the floor. They want the true stretch 4 and stretch 5, and they've got that. But this is definitely a huge contrast in styles here between West Virginia and Ohio State. Ohio State's built offensively. West Virginia obviously built defensively. So this is where you look at the Ohio State against Pitt game. You look at the Ohio State against Notre Dame game. Those games feel very similar to this one, where the styles, they can't play. It's like oil and water. They're not going to play nice with each other in this one.
Do you think there's any crossover? Like you look in college football, you just can't go off of if we play a common opponent and I beat that opponent and you didn't, that means I'm better than you. It just doesn't work. In basketball, there's a little bit more carryover, in my opinion, with that, but there's still 5 moving pieces, or, well, really, if you consider the whole team, sometimes between 8 and 10, so styles make matchups. I've always said that, if you struggle to stop the run and you play a team that runs it well, you're probably going to be have a bad time. If you can guard the run against, so it just depends. If we transfer that to basketball, some teams are better at turning you over. Some teams are better at shooting 3. And if you get the wrong matchup on the wrong night, we played Xavier this year. They hit almost 23s against us in a game, so it's like sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it. Do you put any stock into the way West Virginia dominated Pitt and the fact that you guys lost them, or do you think that's just, it really isn't a crossover?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that a lot of us pay attention to. The night that it happened, I tweeted it out, and it was notable for sure. I think it's one data point of many, especially when you have 31 games in a regular season.
Absolutely.
There's just so many games, and a lot of them too. Ohio State is playing Mount St. Mary's, which I think West Virginia might
We played them. You guys beat them way worse than us.
Yeah, so there's one other common opponent there. I think when you have 31 different games, it means less as the season goes on because you just get more data points, and who West Virginia is in November compared to who West Virginia is in February is so different. Like Ohio State will play Virginia in February. Virginia is not anywhere close to what they'll be in February as compared to what they are now.
Great.
So
point.
I will say, like, even on the football side, you've got 22 different variables on every play, where you cut that in half in basketball where it's 10, 5-on-5 against 11-on-11. So because of that,
absolutely,
I think in basketball, it's easier at times to pull off the upsets. There's less variables in play, and it's also less physical than a sport like football, obviously. So just comparing, like, as you're talking about football versus basketball, I think in general, I would lean more toward actually football being the outcome that I would weigh more head to head than basketball. And I also think too, because there's 30 games in basketball, you just got more data points right now, though.
Yeah,
it is something we should pay attention to, is how West Virginia played Pitt, how Ohio State played Pitt, Mount St. Mary's to a much lesser degree. But I do think it matters when it's December 13th, when the game plays, rather than March 13th.
Agreed. So talking about data points, obviously we have to get to the players here. We'll go to break, guys. We're going to ask Tim about some of the Buckeye players. They've got some really good offensive players. We'll talk about them next. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends, and we love talking about them, guys. We're talking about our friends over at FanDuel right now. Right now with FanDuel, if you didn't know, now you will find out. Guys, FanDuel is killing it right now. NFL Sundays are moving fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes everything with live betting so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. And with FanDuel, you can place live bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, and every highlight moment. So live betting is best if you want to try to see when the start to shift. That's what they do. A receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, a momentum flipper can happen. And look, FanDuel lets you jump straight into that moment if you want. Live spreads, money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. And you can be the next touchdown scorer. If you want to bet on that, you can get the drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com. You'll place your live NFL bets all season long. Do it with FanDuel. Where the game moves fast, so can you. All right, it's segment 2, and is customary in segment 2, Tim, I crack a do. That's just what I do. Very West. People like to say it's very West Virginian of me. I'll take that.
Yeah, whatever works. Whatever works.
So, obviously this is a game, looking at the Buckeyes, you guys have some pretty decent offensive players. You got one guy averaging over 20 points a game in Bruce Thornton. But, give me – I think I've got Devin Royal on the thumbnail, who I really like for you guys, a super athletic inside-out player. Talk to me about some of these players. Just kind of go through the roster a little bit and how it's constructed and how everything moves with Ohio State.
Yeah, everything starts with Bruce Thornton. He is, if Ohio State were a tournament team over the past 3 years, he would be known as the superstar in college basketball. His numbers this year are better than they've been as a four-year producer at Ohio State, averaging almost 22 points per game, 4.4 assists per game. His points per game, his assists per game, his defensive rebounds per game, his true shooting percentage, his field goal percentage, his 3-point percentage, his 2-point percentage. Anywhere you look, they're all 90th percentile or better in college basketball this year, which is insane as a point guard. He's not taking, a crazy amount of threes. He will get his way into the paint, but all those numbers combined are insane. And he's pound for pound probably the best player in college basketball this season. He just doesn't get the attention because Ohio State hasn't been good. And unfortunately, that's the way it goes. But this is a guy who, against Illinois in a loss, he scored 24 points in the first 15 minutes or so. He shot 9 of 9 from the field and 6 of 6 from the 3-point line. And Ohio State was still losing at that point. So he's definitely the engine for the Buckeyes. He ended up finishing that game with 34 points. He's had a couple of other really, really big-time games this year where he scored 38 against Purdue-Fort Wayne. He's got a couple other 20-point games as well, including the win over Notre Dame. But he's a point guard who he'll distribute, he'll share, and he'll score from literally anywhere on the floor. And then outside of that, there's just a lot of players who have had up and down games this year. You can mention Devin Royal for sure. Royal he's transitioned from power forward to small forward this year, so he's playing on the outside. The 3-point shot has been incredible. He's up to 39% from deep this year, which last year I think he was in the upper 20s. I think it wasn't great. So he's made a huge leap there, but he still had some turnovers. Touch on passes sometimes just doesn't look good, and that leads to turnovers. And his ability to defend on the wing as well is definitely questionable. You look at Christoph Tilley, a transfer in from Santa Clara. He's averaging 13.8 points per game this year.
The 7-footer?
The 7-footer, yeah. And he started the year 1 of 2 from the 3-point line. Since then, he is 3 of 27. And
wow,
he probably shouldn't be shooting 3-pointers at this point unless it's with 2 seconds left on the shot clock.
right.
So he's been up and down as well. So Ohio State is led by Bruce Thornton. Outside of that, there's a lot of players who they all look really good on paper. You just got to get them all to click. And there's been some games this year where that hasn't happened yet.
So this is a guard-heavy offense, right? I think that's what I see when I see this. You got and if you look at Mobley, by the way, I mean, he's an elite athlete. That dude's explosive. I love watching him as well. Watched you guys obviously versus Pitt, and you guys have some athleticism. What about the defensive end of the floor for this team? Do you guys have any strengths on the defensive side of the floor, or is it a work in progress?
Yeah, so the defensive numbers are not as strong as the offensive numbers, but still fine. They've got 102.7 defensive rating so far this year. They're just not forcing turnovers. They're not creating splash plays. 7.5% steal rate, 4.9% block rate this year. Both of those are really, really, really low. So you're just going to have to sit down and you're going to have to defend. If a ball goes up, they're going to rebound. They've got a 73.5% defensive rebounding rate this year. That's a lot from Christoph Tilley, Devin Royal, Amari Bynum off the bench, Brenen Knoll starting at the 4 for Ohio State. So there's just been times this year, especially against Illinois, they're a really tough team to guard where 3-pointers went up and they were made a lot. It felt like the second half, things settled down and Illinois wasn't as good from the field. But I think the offense is definitely the strong suit here. The defense is something that scares me a little bit at times. But
yeah,
Thornton's an okay defender. You don't really have a true defensive stopper at all. John Mobley Jr. is absolutely not that. Off the bench, you look at Gabe Cupps, who can't score but can defend a little bit. So defensively, West Virginia will score some points against Ohio State, even with the low pace, I think.
Yeah. Obviously, West Virginia has some elite metrics on defense. I think it's going to play a factor in this game. I don't know to what extent. Well, obviously, West Virginia, not the biggest team across the board either. I mean,
no, not at all.
You've got, obviously you've got a 6'3" starting guard. You've got a backup that's 6'2". You've got Honor Huff, who's 5'10", but obviously he makes up for a lot with his 3-point shooting ability. I think he's now tied, this was as of the game the other day. I'm sure games have been played and somebody's went ahead of him, but as of the last game, he was tied for first in college basketball in threes made. Last year, he finished first in the country in threes made. He's made 5 or more in, I think, 3 or 4 games this year. So he's obviously an elite threat, especially when he's on, but when he can go cold as well. He can be streaky. It's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out with that. Obviously it's strength on strength. Like you said, this is an Ohio State offense that can be really good sometimes, especially if Thornton's going. And I mean, look, it's not like you guys are chopped liver. You guys have 3 other guys averaging over 13 points a game. That's pretty good. I mean, there are a lot of teams that would love to have that. So, the record 7-2, somebody in the chat asking about that. I think you guys are a work in progress, just like we are. I mean, if you look at the West Virginia side of things here, Tim, West Virginia played the first 10 games without 2 of its better players, right? So to add 2 players that are both playing 15 minutes or more a game, maybe even 20, that late into the season, it's really kind of hurt us a little bit, to be honest. We were playing better before they were added, but I don't think it's because they make us worse. I just think it's kind of made a shock to the system. Like we had a freshman by the name of DJ Thomas who had 20-something points in a game this season in a game, and his minutes have been drastically reduced. So it's going to impact people. Overall, though, this West Virginia team, if any Ohio State fans do see this, this is a team that does play elite defense. It's definitely more of a pack line style. You just protect the paint. You make sure you push everything outwards. And at times, West Virginia has been vulnerable from 3 this year. Like you say, you look at Xavier, they've had almost – now, look, at some point, sometimes teams are going to go off. 16 threes in a game is an insane number. It rarely happens versus anybody. And you're going to lose probably 20 out of 20 times that happens to you. West Virginia still almost won that game. So it speaks to the resiliency of this team. You lose to a game versus Clemson where you're up 12 with under 5 or 6 to go. You're supposed to take that home. Clemson's turned out to be a pretty good basketball team. They should have beat BYU the other day. They lost that on a game winner. So I feel good about West Virginia's where West Virginia's at. I don't think we're, some people were kind of hubbub about the 3 losses. I think we're okay. We're okay. I think we're still a work in progress. I think we're a bubble team. At best right now, I think we're a bubble team, but I think we can work our way into it still. And this is going to be a matchup between 2 teams who are probably going to be bubble-ish type teams when it comes time for that tournament to come around. So should be a fun matchup in an NBA arena. Let's go to break. And after that, I'll ask Tim what he thinks the game keys are. What does Ohio State need to do to win this game? What does Coach Diebler want to happen on the floor? And what does West Virginia need to happen as well? We'll both give game keys and score and a prediction. Stick around here on Locked On West Virginia with our boy from the shot. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia going to be brought to you by our friends at Rugiet. Look, guys, we love talking about Rugiet too, right? If you want to get Rugiet ready, let's talk about something most men don't bring up, but absolutely should, right? Stress from work, money, life. It doesn't just switch off at night. And when it shows up at the worst possible time, Rugiet Ready is designed to help you take control back. Rugiet is a next-generation prescription treatment created to support the brain and body, right? So you can feel present, confident, and ready when the moment matters. And Rugiet Ready combines 3 clinically proven ingredients in 1 mint that dissolves under your tongue so it absorbs fast. It's easy to understand over 150,000 men have made the switch already. And look, most men are ready in about 15 minutes on average. So if you want to stay present, confident, and in control when the moment is right, this is for you. If you've been thinking about taking that next step, now is the time. Head to rugiet.com/lockedoncollege. That's rugiet.com/lockedoncollege to get 15% off your order for a limited time. Rugiet Ready, where you can feel present, feel confident, and feel ready. And we can't forget about our friends at Aura Frames as well here. The holidays are here, right? Which means gift giving season is officially on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is a gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's something you share memories with, right? It's not just your average picture frame. You can actually preload the frame with photos before gifting it out. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there for you. No apps to figure out, no headaches, just instant smiles. You want to give them to grandpa, you want to give them to grandma, you want to give them to some parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos will love this. And you can have endless photos and pictures, 30-second videos, whatever, through the Aura app. And packaging comes gift ready. No price tag, no wrapping needed. That's a huge win as well. For a limited time, save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling carbon mat frames. Number 1 by the publication named Wirecutter, by using promo code college at checkout. That's aura.frames.com, promo code college. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames do sell out fast, so order yours now. Get in time for the holidays, and please support the show by benching us at checkout, where the terms and conditions do apply. All right, Tim, thank you so much for waiting on me, man. Really quick, let everybody know where you're at one more time.
Yeah, Views from the Shop podcast. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at the Shop Pod. And then we're also on YouTube, Views from the Shop podcast there. Also have a Substack with a bunch of written content, and then also a paid option as well for some more insider news. That's Views from the Shop podcast.substack.com. Great place to be if you're into Ohio State hoops, which I would assume a very minor amount of people watching the show are, but hey, you can always check it out.
We have some pretty big overall just sports fans. So, heck, even if you want to go hate on the Buckeyes, go hate on the Buckeyes over there. Views from the Shot. Well. He doesn't care.
You wouldn't be the only one. That's for sure.
Right. I totally get it. I have a lot of Pitt fans that come in and a lot of West Virginia fans that dislike me too. It happens. All right. So obviously this is a game where we've talked about it. I think it's the theme, right? Contrasting styles. West Virginia is a very defensive-laden team. The numbers bear that out. They've been good against pretty much everybody, and defensively have played well enough in almost every game to win. And it can be their offense at times that will sputter. But some players are just starting to get going. Trey Eaglestaff is the anomaly of the team, right? I mean, if you look at Trey Eaglestaff pre-port or during the portal, Tim, he was one of the most sought after players in the portal, right?
Mhm.
Almost 20 points a game last year at North Dakota. He had 41 against Alabama, 51 versus South Dakota State. He has not been good at West Virginia at times. It's the usage rate, right? I think his usage rate was in the 20s or mid 20s or something like that at North Dakota. It just hasn't been. He's had to figure out his role in this offense. Now, he's had a couple games where he's played well. He's starting to come on a little bit. If he comes on, this West Virginia team will take another step to another level because Honor Huff, you just can't leave him. You just can't. There's no way you can. He's probably the best shooter in college basketball, especially if you leave him open. He's incredibly tough to guard. And then outside of that, West Virginia's got some pretty good athletes at the four that we like. Overall, I think West Virginia is going to want to, and I'll give you my keys first, Tim. I think obviously West Virginia wants to impose its will on Ohio State. They want to slow this game down. They want to make it a game that's in the 60s, preferably in the 50s even. If this game gets into the high 70s or 80s, starts to favor Ohio State, in my opinion. There is a world where West Virginia can win that style of game as well if they're shooting it well, but we don't want to have to tread into those waters. We want to bring Ohio State into the deep water where it's a defensive slugfest of a game and both teams are just wailing on each other. I think both teams have 7-footers. We'll see who wins that battle as well. I think you have the better offensive player, no doubt, but I think OBL High can probably hold his own a little bit in this game. And then lastly, turnovers. Can West Virginia avoid the turnover? Wake Forest absolutely destroyed us. Absolutely destroyed us with turnovers. I think we had close to 20 turnovers in that game. One of the worst performances I've seen this year. And the thing that happened in that game, Tim, was they just doubled the ball screen. When they went high ball screen, they double team. They trapped the ball screen. We've got 5'10" guard, right, with the ball. How are you going to throw the ball over 2 6'7" guys? And that's what happened. And Wake Forest's length affected us. Ohio State's length affected West Virginia. We'll see in a game that's basically going to be a semi-home game. If you look at KenPom, I think it's what they call it, semi-home for Ohio State in Cleveland. West Virginia will travel up there as well. I'll hold up on my prediction until I hear your keys.
So I'm interested, even before we get into keys, what's your gut tell you about how the West Virginia fan base travels in this game?
They're elite at traveling. I'm just going to be honest with you. They are. I'll give you an example. When we played in Charlotte, North Carolina against North Carolina in the bowl game, this was football, but we traveled just as well in basketball. We ran them out of their own, not their own stadium, but their own hometown stadium. It was insane. West Virginia does this a lot. I don't know if it'll be 50-50, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 60-40.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't be surprised either. I think obviously the distance advantage is for Ohio State, but I mean
it's not far for West Virginia either, really.
Yeah.
We don't get to drive to many games. We're in the Big 12. You got to think people are going to take advantage of this.
That's true. Yeah. So, I mean, it's not a far drive for either. I would assume the drive is less for those in Columbus. You're kind of going in opposite directions there.
Yeah. But, let's see. How far is that from Columbus? Do you know?
Columbus is going to be 2 hours, maybe.
Okay. That's interesting. I wonder how far it is from, and you're dead on the 2 hours. From Morgantown, it says 3 hours. So It's not, it's only an hour difference, right? 3 hours and 16 minutes. It's 2 hours and 16 minutes for you. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I still advantage Ohio State, right? Because there's going to be literal Ohio State fans in Cleveland that don't have to go anywhere for this.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised to see 10,000 West Virginia fans down there. I wouldn't be shocked.
I'll just tell you, in an Ohio State against Illinois game, prime matchup, Tuesday night. It's not a weekend game, but it's still Illinois on Tuesday night. Ohio State had less than 10,000 fans in attendance for that game. So they're struggling to fill the shot for people to travel to Cleveland, even though there's going to be fans up in Cleveland. I will say, too, the Cleveland area it's not like Columbus. It's not like Toledo.
Sports town, or it's a pro sports town.
Yeah. I mean, the fan base there isn't really as strong as people may think there in Cleveland. So
for Ohio State.
Yeah, for Ohio State. So I wonder how many fans will get there. I don't know what it looked like the last time Ohio State and West Virginia played in the Q, but that's one thing that I look
probably
at.
Probably better. You guys have Evan Turner.
Well, the last time they played in the Q was just, what was it, 3 years ago?
Oh, 3 years ago. That's right. I forgot.
Yeah. So, I mean, even then.
Was Thornton on that team then?
Bruce Thornton was on that team.
I remember.
Yes. He's been balling out since he was a freshman at Ohio State. And
I remember.
He had his teammate, Roddy Gale, there winning the game for Ohio State. Now he's at Michigan with Dusty May, and that's a whole big thing. But anyways, all that to say, seeing the fan base split, it'll be interesting because people aren't coming to the shot already for games. So we'll see about that.
It's a shame.
Yeah. That said, as I look at the keys for Ohio State in this one, I think number one, I do keys to the game on my own show. So this is exactly how I'll do it. I think number one is follow the leader. And what I mean by that is follow Bruce Thornton. There have been games this year where John Mobley Jr., especially against Illinois, just didn't look in it. He didn't look engaged, and he's a fantastic shooter. But if he doesn't get going early, it seems like he struggles to engage. You look at Christoph Tilley, who's been super inconsistent. Brandon Knoll's been super inconsistent. Amari Bynum's had some good minutes for Ohio State off the bench, but this team goes with Bruce.
Is that Thornton. Andrew Bynum?
Amari Bynum.
I know. Is it related to Andrew Bynum?
I don't believe so. Not that I've ever seen. I actually looked that up.
So that'd be weird going to Cleveland, you know.
I saw that the second I saw Ohio State offered, I was like, I wonder. And I don't remember ever seeing anything there, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
But that said, there are guys who have given good minutes, but no one has been as consistently good as Bruce Thornton. And in a game like this, where West Virginia, you say slugfest, I would say slop fest. Like West Virginia just wants to slop this game up. They want to force turnovers. Ohio State, luckily, doesn't struggle with turnovers this year, but they want to slow it down and just turn this into sludging it out for 40 minutes. And Bruce Thornton is just going to have to sit down and say, I have to take this game over for my team. I've been here for 4 years. I've done the dance before. So I think that's the biggest key for Ohio State is kind of trusting Bruce Thornton. And then the second one, which you can't quantify, would be take some pride in being tough. Again, against Illinois, it felt like they weren't that tough. Felt like against Notre Dame, against Pitt especially, who wanted to slop it up as well. Ohio State just was not the aggressor, and it in part caused them to lose that game against Pitt on a buzzer beater. So Ohio State's going to have to take some pride in being the tougher team, being the team that can defend and can be strong and can out-muscle and can out-physical. So those would be the two things I would focus on for Ohio State.
Well, I'll tell you, at least against Wake Forest put out the blueprint against this team, this West Virginia team. Nate Calmese, the point guard for Wake Forest, was elite against West Virginia, penetrating no matter what we did, whether it was zone, whether it was man, it didn't really matter. He was elite. He got into the lane and made us look really bad at times on defense. If I were Ohio State, if I were Coach Diebler, I would tell Bruce Thornton to do what Calmese did. Get into the lane, get to the rim, kick it out, get your shots, obviously. But I'm assuming Thornton's also – is he a distributor as well?
Yeah, 100%.
So, okay. So, yeah, this is a big deal for West Virginia if he's able to – because we have good defensive guards, especially when you look at Jasper Floyd, but he's not as fleet of foot as I would like. And so while he's tough, and he's really tough, I mean, he's very hard-nosed, but he's not an elite athlete. So guys can blow by him at times. He can get caught up in ball screens. He's not huge. And you're bringing a freshman who reclassified off the bench to back him up, who's all of about 150 pounds. Amir Jenkins, top 100 player, but at the same time, and he's been really good. Sometimes he's our best player at times. As a kid, it's hard to believe, but he's just not big enough. He's not a college body yet. So I do worry about that when we play elite guards that can penetrate. That's going to be something to watch. Because if they can do what Calmese did, we're in trouble. I don't know if we have anybody that can guard an elite penetrating guard right now, like a Breden from Purdue or somebody like that, right? So Braden Smith from Purdue or somebody like, I don't know. So we'll see what happens against Thornton. Obviously, I think the thing to do if you're West Virginia, and this, I'll have one more key onto this, get Thornton in foul trouble somehow, whether you take whoever he's guarding, just take it at him on defense maybe, or you try to bait him into an offensive foul, which is harder and harder to do. But yeah, that's kind of where it's at. As far as the prediction, Tim, this was a tough one. Ohio State's 6.5-point favorites last I looked. I think you're our favorites for a reason. You guys are coming off a loss, so I do think you guys will have a little kick in the butt. I also think you do have at least home field advantage where by an hour, I don't know if it matters. So maybe it's more neutral. If West Virginia travels well, it'll help us a lot. I will. This team plays well off their energy. I still feel like West Virginia is going to win. My gut tells me that. I just feel like we will. I don't know. I think it's really close. I do. I think it's really close. But I'll say 70-67 West Virginia wins by 3 points.
Yeah, 6.5 points. If that number is real, I am hammering as quickly as I can West Virginia's side on that. For a peek behind the curtain on what we do at the Views from the Shop podcast, I created something I called the BIP, the betting intelligence platform. Just my own blend formula with some AI historical trends.
Wow.
To put together bets. And last year, it was probably the most profitable thing you could ever find. This year, it sucked, so I shut it down for a month. And this upcoming week actually is when we started again. However, the BIP right now says Ohio State should be favored by 3.5, and the total at 142.5. So that's where we come in our own numbers here, which with a caveat, they have not been very good this year. But it was a very early part of the year. We need to get some more data to see if we can actually be successful again this year like we were last year. But that said, I think there's one area where Ohio State can win this game, and it was just like Illinois. West Virginia, like you said, they're vulnerable to giving up the 3-ball. Ohio State has been consistently inconsistent shooting the 3-ball this year, but they've shown they can do it. So if John Mobley Jr. or Bruce Thornton, if Amari Bynum can hit one, if Christoph Tilley can somehow hit a 3, then I think Ohio State has a chance.
Makes me laugh because what you said earlier.
Yeah, no, Ohio State will have a chance to pull away in this game if they can hit 3s. West Virginia forces turnovers. Ohio State does not struggle with turnovers, so that'll be a strength-on-strength matchup. But I don't see this game really. I think the winning team is probably the one who gets to like 65 first. From what I've seen from Ohio State in games against similar profile teams this year, it's been very low scoring. So I will take Ohio State to win. I've picked Ohio State to lose twice this year. I've been right once and wrong the other. So I have picked Ohio State to lose this year. I'm not being a homer. I think Ohio State wins this game. I think they win like 64-62, something like that. I think it's going to be very tight.
Yeah, I've also picked against West Virginia a lot here, especially in football lately. Although that's turning around too, which thankfully. But this is going to be interesting. Listen. Here's the thing with from West Virginia's side. I know this sounds crazy, but this is literally a must-win game for West Virginia due to how much the committee can put on non-conference when it comes to deciding bubble teams. We don't have a good non-conference win at all. And I don't know if Ohio State will be one down the line or not. Yeah. Hopefully it will. But for now, it's in a must-win game. You've lost to Clemson. You've lost to Xavier. You can't lose another one. You lost to Wake Forest. All the chances that you've really had to beat a good non-conference team, you've lost. And so Ohio State's going to have to be a good quad 2 win for you at least, hopefully. Maybe quad 1 if you're lucky. I don't know if it'll get to that. Probably not. So, yeah, but I do like West Virginia to win this one just because it's a must-win game. It really is for West Virginia. So it's going to be fun to see. See what if we can hold Thornton in check. See if you guys can hold Huff in check. Would love to see Honor Huff have one of his performances tomorrow, but we'll find out. So appreciate you for coming on, man. This was fun.
Yeah, appreciate it a bunch, and I'd echo kind of the same sentiment for Ohio State. They've got to pick up a marquee win here on their resume. This is a huge month from Black Friday basically to Christmas where they have opportunities to do that, but they're running out of chances. They've got to pick up a win here. So Ohio State, West Virginia in really similar spots here. But I appreciate you having me on. It's been a great time talking hoops.
Absolutely, Tim. And we can do it again, man. Absolutely. So, guys, make sure you check him out. Let everybody know where they can find you one last time, Tim.
at The Shot Pod on Twitter and on Instagram, Views from the Shot Podcast on YouTube, and Views from the Shot Podcast.substack.com if you want more written content as well on Buckeye Hoops.
All right, guys. We thank you so much for joining in. Before you go, we have to ask you for a favor, as always, and that's the Everydayer Club. I know that a lot of you guys have been asking about this, so basically what it is, guys, and we thank you for tuning in to Locked On today. We'll be doing another show here in a little bit on football. We're going to be talking recruiting. We're going to be talking other stuff. Make sure you follow and subscribe to the podcast, or if you're on YouTube here. But, obviously, if you want to make your show Spotify wrapped, you can prove it on social media. Secure a free month of our new brand, Everydayer Club. Just tag a National Locked On podcast in on any platform, and we'll definitely drop you a code. But if you want to be one of the first to join the Everydayer Club to get your favorite show, you can get it ad-free. You can also get exclusive access to a members-only Discord. If you want to do that, I've got a link for you guys, and it's definitely worth your time. Put it in the chat box right now, and then also I will pin it to the top of the comments section for after. So I want to thank you guys so much for being patient while I got through that. The Everydayer link is in the chat now as we speak. And we will let you go on that note, guys. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe over at the Shot. Make sure you follow and like Locked On West Virginia. And we will talk to you on the next one here in a couple hours, guys, where we talk about your team every single day. We'll see you on the next one. Don't forget to cue those country roads.